For Internal Security and National Administration, Dr. Raymond Omollo, exclusive because it's his very first one since he was appointed more than 2 years ago. We're talking about the state of the nation's security on the eve of Jamhuri Day. Dr. Ari, we're talking about abductions, and there have been quite a few, and there's a lot of concerned Kenyans out there, parents, loved ones. So far, according to the Kenya National Commission, Human Rights Commission, 73 abductions. Who's abducting these Kenyans?
Jeff, I think we need to probably probe more because let's take the case of maybe other criminal activities that happen across the country. And you'd find, for example, when we talk about abductions or what you'd call forced disappearance, we've had cases where we find someone is reported as disappeared, but then a few weeks or a few days later, they show up. And for me, it speaks to just how do we work closely to try and get to the root cause of this, because it's possible that people would be having criminal elements around. And of course, as a government, not necessarily passing the blame, but just how do we work together with the police, with the investigative agencies to actually drill down and narrow down on where people may have gone or may have disappeared to. We have cases that have been reported with our police officers or within the police stations, and what the police working together with the DCI have done is to be able to follow up on these cases. And in a number of cases, some we've been able to positively identify and get back. In certain instances, we have open investigations that are going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we see these unmarked cars, unidentified, usually the Subaru Yamabaru imekamna imeja, they're Subaru Foresters, and they're darkly tinted, and they follow you and they stop you sometimes. Are those police officers, or who are those guys? Because they are kind of scary.
Jeff, the police officers would identify themselves if they're coming for you. And they would be able to introduce themselves, then they would be able to tell you to come with them. So they would be doing what we are calling arrests. And they will go with you to a police station. And if there are issues, they will be able to speak to those issues. If they need to book you in, they will book you in. If they need to take you to court the following day, or just give you a police bond so that then you can come back and report.
What if they don't identify themselves? Yeah, I mean, who are they? Sometimes they're masked men.
So in a situation like that, it then becomes a subject of investigation. And for me, that is where you've mentioned about an institution like the Kenya Human Rights Commission. I've mentioned about an institution like IPOA, who are then able to look at, is there a case here that is worth pursuing that holds or puts officers, our security officers, culpable. And where there have been cases and where there have been issues that have been picked, we have demonstrated, or IPOA and our enforcement officers have been able to demonstrate that this is something that is not proper. Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes IPOA says you're not cooperating with them. There's Commissioner John Waiganjo, who said that Commissioner Adamson Bungay was not, the regional commander, was not cooperating with IPOA.
I wouldn't want to speak for Bungay or in that case, because he's a DIG. But again, Jeff, we've been around. He has been arraigned in court. He has appeared, and he's been able to respond or address himself to the issues that have been raised against him.
Yeah. I guess the biggest fear is that, some people say, Kenya doesn't, we don't want to plummet into a situation like Mexico or Colombia or, the ganglands. We don't want to become that.
Jeff, we are a country that is governed by the rules of law. And where any individual is culpable, then they must be able to just be taken through the due process of law. Yeah. And I don't see a situation where Kenya would in any way generate or degenerate to a situation where we are having gangs taking over. But then look around. Part of the criminal elements we've been dealing with across the country try to operate in those formations of gangs. But you must admit that our officers have been able to really contain and manage that situation. Yeah.
But for how long?
This has been going on, at least for the 2 years we've been in office. And I think it's also good to look at what are some of the issues that might not necessarily be very obvious that we need to address. There are conversations or issues around youth unemployment, which could then also be acting as some of the push and pull factors around these criminal elements. And we have a responsibility, both the government and Kenyans, and even including private sector. How do we create an environment that then addresses the challenge around unemployment? Because if we don't address it, then it becomes difficult. However much you'd want the police to address some of these criminal activities, it becomes very difficult.
It becomes unmanageable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Some of the cases, according to Kenya Human Rights, about 50 total deaths across the country. Nairobi, 21 deaths. Nakuru, 3 deaths. Uasin Gishu, 4 deaths. Mombasa, 3. Nakuru, 3. In a list of 17 counties, total about 50 deaths. The families are looking for justice. When will they get it?
Jeff, I've looked at the numbers. Look at the cases that IPOA has investigated. 225. They've taken them to court. Half of them have been able to be progressed. Out of those half, close to 100, there are 30 convictions. So when you are looking for accountability, you can actually see that something is happening. Yeah.
So there's progress. That's what you're saying.
Yes, there's a lot of progress that we have made, not just as government, but generally as a country. Just a demonstration of how our constitutional reality is playing out in terms of accountability, in terms of responsibility, and also in terms of what we need to do to make it possible for all these institutions that have a responsibility to secure this country to actually do their work. And when you speak about even the reforms that we are talking about within the police service, they are all targeted at addressing some of these gaps that you are mentioning. And
justice delayed is not justice denied?
Definitely, justice must be dispensed in a much faster fashion. And it's the responsibility not just of the police or the executive. There's a role of judiciary, there's a role of prosecution, and there's also the element of adducing evidence. You have cases where you take people to court and then you lack people to come and provide witness statements.
Yeah. And in the case of IG Kanja saying that there's 59 Kenyans who are missing, I mean, look, let's not kid ourselves. Will the families get justice?
Jeff, the families definitely must get justice. And let's look at people who are missing. And people could be missing for very many reasons. if you leave the studio here on your way to your house, you are involved in a bad accident, there's a good chance that by the time the police pick you up, they are unable to positively identify you. The body is taken to city mortuary. It could take a week, it could take a month before actually people find out where you are. Would we say that justice has been denied or delayed in circumstances like that? And we could go on and on. Look at the issue of Shakahola, where we lost over 400 Kenyans. And the question is, will the families get justice? As we speak, the investigations have been concluded. The matters are being prosecuted in court. There have been positive identification of a good number of those cases. But when did it happen? It happened. It's almost more than a year when we started this. Yeah. Would we say that the year that we have taken is far too long as part of delay for justice? And you just get then to internalize how complex some of these matters can be.
Sure.
Yes.
Dr. Ari, let's switch gears real quick and talk about illicit brews.
Yeah.
Central Province has been a big problem. And you know this as much as I do.
Jeff, illicit brews is not just a problem in central Kenya. It's a problem that we have in the entirety of this republic. When you think about it, when you look at even the records and the reports that we have, actually the problem largely in central Kenya has been issues around counterfeit. When you talk about illicit brews, you probably get a lot of it in western part of the country. And if you look at how bad the damage is, last year's report by NACADA paints a very grim picture, where you find children between 10 and 14 years, 8% of them have interacted with alcohol.
8%?
8%, which is quite something to worry about. And in that report, you find that the youngest is at 4 years to have interacted with alcohol. And when you think about it, look at your household or at home. Do you have alcohol in the house? And it might look like an innocent thing, normal thing, but you have a child there who then has that temptation to start to try and taste alcohol. And the problem gets so much complex. When we were trying to address the issue of even manufacturing, because that is where we are dealing with counterfeits, and you realize that we were looking at a total of about 60 manufacturers in the country who are supposed to operate. When we went out to look to physically locate these manufacturers, we could only do that for 29 of them. And then when we're looking at the licensing regime across all the agencies that are involved, whether it's KRA, whether it's Kenya Bureau of Standards, whether it's Anti-Counterfeit Authority, only 15 were fit to manufacture alcohol. And we've ended up allowing those 15 to operate. The rest still have to meet certain requirements for them to operate. And you must agree with me that there's been a significant reduction, almost by half, in the number of cases that we were seeing across the country, particularly where we unfortunately lost people in Kirinyaga.
In Kirinyaga, and then people lost their sight and all that stuff.
Lost their sight. Yeah. Now, beyond that, then there is also what the law expects of us. Now, the process of licensing of bars or liquor stores, it's largely a devolved function that is done by the counties. But then each county does it differently. And what we have been doing is we've had engagements with the Council of Governors so that then we can have a uniform way of treating the process of licensing. Then there is what is expected in terms of even the distance or the location from learning institutions. Jeff, out of over 50,000 bars across the country, you have about 2,000 that are violating this rule or regulation around distance. And what we are doing is we are going forward to actually shut them down. And
is it happening?
The process is going on. Last week we had an engagement with the bar owners, and we have given ourselves a commitment that we must be able to clean up that space so that then when people want to drink or partake, then let it be away from where our children are going to school. Now, beyond the challenge of alcohol, then there is also the hard drugs, which is now becoming another big headache, whether it's cocaine or heroin. And it is incumbent upon all of us as a country that we must have a very candid conversation on how do we deal with this, because otherwise we are going to lose an entire generation. And
Kenya used to be like a transit point from the sea into Europe, but now we have reports that drugs are coming in from the north, from Ethiopia and other parts.
So Jeff, our security agencies have really done a good job and working as multi-agencies so that there's been a significant drop in the movement of hard drugs following the route that we traditionally knew it was. But then we are having a new emerging challenge, particularly because of the porousness of our borders with our neighbors up in the north. And it's something that has become now a big source of concern for us. And we are trying to do what it takes to manage that situation. Of course, it's quite challenging because when you have a porous border and then you have free movement of people and you have what you'd probably call cartels who hugely benefit from this trade, then you start to appreciate how difficult a situation we find ourselves in trying to contain that.
And it's not getting any better.
It's worrying.
Yeah,
it's worrying. Very worrying.
Tell me, coming back to the list of bars, you're talking about bars shutting down and stuff. Do we have a list of bars? Because, bars in residential neighborhoods, in Nairobi, you see that a lot. Kilimani, Lavington, Kileleshwa.
So Jeff, we have a list. We've put it out there, and we really want to call out on Kenyans to help us rein in on this, because it's not just about you and me, but the biggest source of concern is our children. Because at least you can decide what to do with yourself, when to take and when not to take. But early exposure has a big impact on the health of the nation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dr. I want to take a break, come back, talk about Jamhuri Day. We are hours away from Jamhuri Day.
Yeah.
You are at Uhuru Gardens today, right?
Yeah.
How was preparations?
Good, on top. I'll probably be passing by there on my way home, just to be sure.
After this?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Can we come with you?
Please, come along.
I have to wake up at 4 o'clock. So.
Yeah.
Dr. Raymond Omollo, he is the Principal Secretary for Internal Security and National Administration, on the bench today. His very first interview. He's not doing too badly. He's not too shabby, would you say? Let's have those tweets coming. We're going to go to the magic wall when we come back and talk about Jamhuri Day tomorrow. At Kwenanga Jeff, at Citizen TV, the hashtag JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back in a moment. We appreciate that, Dr. We appreciate how preparations coming. How's it looking at Uhuru Gardens?
Jeff, it's looking beautiful.
Yeah?
And the garden is superb. We are ready. The garden would seat slightly more than 30,000 Kenyans.
Whoa.
And we've invited Nairobians and the rest of the country. We expect that the program begins at 9 in the morning, so that then we can finish in good time. His Excellency the President will preside. He has invited his colleague, the president from the Gambia, who is his guest.
Okay.
The theme for this year's Jamhuri Day celebration is around jobs. It's around labor migration and entrepreneurship, as well as the creatives in terms of the arts.
Yeah.
And we've had a week-long event at KICC just to showcase and speak to the theme. And Jeff, for the last 2 years that we have had our national celebrations, we've been able to do this across the country. We were in Embu at some point, then went to Kericho, then Bungoma. The last celebrations was in Kwale, and now tomorrow we are in Nairobi at Uhuru Gardens. And this has given Kenyans as an opportunity to just have a closer view and feel of what it means to be part of the national celebrations. So we expect a big event tomorrow. Of course, it's coming to the end of the year, and it's an opportunity that the president then will also be able to speak to the nation before the end of the year.
Yeah. It's been challenging 2024, hasn't it?
Yes.
For everyone, I mean, across the board.
Yes, it's been an eventful year, a lot of highs and lows, and I think it will be good to close it on a high as we move into the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of closing on a high, let's see what's on our magic board today. Lots of tweets coming in, very thick and very fast. Lots of responses and reactions. Coochie Patriot says, the people in uniform are suffering undelivered promises from government, harassment from their bosses, poor working conditions, and to an assault on injury, to add salt to injury. No union for them. They suffer in silence. I guess they're talking about the forces in there, some of them, huh?
Yeah. Jeff, one is just like you've mentioned that this has been a difficult year, of course, with a lot of highs and lows. And when I read that tweet, this is someone who feels for the police officers.
Yeah.
And just like I was saying earlier on, is that one, these are Kenyans who are sacrificing a lot, working under very difficult conditions, and they're actually stretched. When you think about it, 110,000 officers to police 55 plus million Kenyans.
It's crazy.
It's not an easy job.
It's not easy.
And that is why the president did set up the Maraga task force. And out of that, there are things that are already happening.
Yeah.
Part of the promises have been delivered, and the assurance, of course, to the patriots there,
yes,
and the rest of the country, and particularly the police officers, is that this administration cares about their plight and is actually doing something to make their situation better.
All right. Next tweet. The Nyantika Chester says, as a statistician, what experience has the PS derived working at the Interior Ministry, and when is the next recruitment for assistant county commissioners at immigration offices? How does he know that you're a statistician? Maybe he Googled you.
Oh, yes, I'm a statistician.
Yes, you are.
Yes. I think the biggest experience for me is to be able to make sense of some of these numbers that we are talking about. So when you look at what is expected in terms of even the ratio of police to the public, we are not doing very well. For now, we are getting into the third year. We have not had any police recruitment, and this even exacerbates the situation. In the next financial year, we have made provisions to be able to recruit, to increase the numbers. But then also when you speak about the crime statistics, so my experience as a statistician comes in handy, and I'm able to actually properly contextualize the thing. On the concern around the other cadre of officers, these national government administration officers, the assistant county commissioners, we expect that we'll also be doing the same in the next financial year. Yes.
Very good. Next, Kimi says, is the person making online silhouettes on social media against VIPs a wanted person or criminal? The level of political creativity is just astounding, and I feel in the social media. No. Sorry. Next.
I hope you don't want me to say something on that.
Do you want to say something?
No, I think the level of creativity is quite amazing, and it's interesting. It just also demonstrates what is possible with technology. And maybe for me, the question is how can we positively make use of technology? Yeah. But of course, even the creativity, whether we might not like it, I think it also just shows the opportunities that are there. And at times, probably then there is much more that we can do with technology, and take cue from some of these people, and see if they can monetize some of this in a manner that is not ridiculing, but looking at the positives.
So channeling this energy in the right direction.
The right direction, yeah.
And they're talented, these kids, huh?
Very, very talented.
Okay. Ojuka Hon, and some numbers, says, kindly ask Bwana PS about the rising amount of illegal immigrants in our country. We have noticed high numbers of Somalis and Burundians. Which immigration status do they hold? This is Honorable Okinda Ojuka, Secretary General, Green Congress Party of Kenya. He claims there are illegal immigrants.
Jeff, number one, you cannot stop people from coming into the country, particularly if they are in distress. Earlier today, for example, we have our neighbors and friends from Somalia who are moving into the country because there's a situation that is just getting out of hand as of yesterday. Do you stop people from coming in? No, you can't. Now, but then when people come in, there's expectation that they must register so that then their status is known. And where we have cases of people being in the country illegally, we have a responsibility to do what we must. That I don't think is something we want to go into the details of how we do it. But the point is we cannot close our borders to stop people from coming in. But then we must keep an eye and have a clear record of who is in the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to do that, yeah, absolutely. Next, Ottawa says he is the best mind this administration has. Oh, if we can have more people like Dr. Omollo in Ruto government, Kenya can go far. Okay, all right. Thanks, Ottawa. Lucky Boy Maingi says, Bwana PS, it has to work. Peaceful protesters have to be protected. Police brutality and abductions won't and can never be forgiven. Let's be human. Do you agree with that? Let's be human?
Yeah.
Yeah. Orare says, daily you see police in Nairobi taking money from businesses, mainly Embakasi and Kasarani. That's Sunton? Is it Sunton? They visit bars, wines and spirits joints, and pool centers and take bribes. Shame, or is it sham? Ask PS whether he has a plan on combating police corruption. Police corruption.
Yes, so corruption is one of the biggest ills that we are struggling with as a country. And the truth is it's cutting across the entire spectrum of society. So when the police is coming to a business joint to pick money, definitely someone is giving that money.
Yeah.
And in as much as it is unacceptable for the police to pick the money, it is also unacceptable for the person giving the money. So how do we make it unattractive, or how do we deter it and slow it down? And what is captured is part of the reforms that we're implementing, the police reforms by the task force of Maraga, speaks to some of these efforts. We are working on we have digitized quite a huge number of government services, and this helps to even lower the appetite for people to want to get into corrupt deals, because then when you don't have a transaction that doesn't involve cash, you actually eliminate to a big extent corruption. But then we just realized that you have over 2,000 bars that are in places that they're not supposed to be in. Yeah. By keeping them open, then they become very good avenues for corruption, like what Orara is talking about. Now, when we close them down, then have them opened in the right spaces, there will be no incentive for the businessmen to want to bribe the police. Yeah.
I hear you. All right. Next. Captain Kip Korir says, Jeff, I commend PS Dr. Raymond Omollo for his performance so far. Ask him if he'll take the position should he be appointed as Interior Cabinet Secretary. By the way, what's the quote-unquote future of corruption in the Interior Ministry? Begin with traffic police. We've talked about that second part, but the first part, would you take that appointment if you were given?
Jeff, I don't think we want to have that conversation because there is nothing to discuss there. Yes.
What, you serve at the...
At the pleasure of His Excellency, the President. Yeah.
Very, very nice answer. Ndiema...
Yeah, but maybe, Jeff, just to make it also clear, is that we have a cabinet secretary who is in office responsible for matters interior and national administration, and that is the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi.
I'm sorry, he has like 59 other jobs.
He is doing a fantastic job in the Ministry of Interior, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. India Mangaj says, how is the Ministry of Interior integrating modern digital tools such as drones and surveillance technology to enhance security and improve the effectiveness of law enforcement in tracking and preventing these crimes in light of the rising cases of abduction? Actually, you mentioned that earlier on, didn't you?
Yeah.
You're using technologies, drones, you're using...
Yeah, actually, technology has played a big role in helping us manage the security situation in the country, particularly in the bandit-prone areas and in the border areas. We are able to do so much with very minimal boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's working.
It's working.
It's good to know. Last one. Mrs. Morogo says, kudos to Dr. Omollo for his outstanding efforts in tracking banditry and mugging since assuming office. His commitment to ensuring safety and security has made a significant difference in our communities. Keep up the good work. All right. There's an endorsement right there from Mrs. Morogo. All right, PS. We are minutes away from Jamhuri Day. Again, what time do events start? What's the program like? What should we look forward to?
So we start at 9. We expect everybody to be seated by 8:30. Then the program runs from 9. We are looking at a quick stop by noon. And then the next session moves to State House for the luncheon. The other interesting thing to note about tomorrow's program is that it's also an opportunity to honor some of our heroes and heroines. So that will be done at the luncheon. Yes. At
the luncheon?
Yes.
All those honors in HSCs and OGWs and all that. Yeah. Are you getting an honor?
No.
You are moderate to the very end, eh?
Yeah.
All right. Dr. It's been good talking to you, man.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time. And
make sure you invite me again.
Oh, you must. No doubt about it. But it has to be in 2025, huh? Because the year is over.
Yeah, the year is over. That's true.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Dr. Raymond Omollo, the Principal Secretary of Internal Security and National Administration, on the bench today, talking about the state of the nation's security, literally on the eve of Jamhuri Day. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Remember, if it's Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. Thanks so much for being a part of this show. Good night, good luck. God bless you all. God bless Kenya. And happy Jamhuri Day to you all. Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you.